Get Pucked. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Get Pucked. Matt, Vito, and Dave here with you. We're going to talk a little bit of Canadiens news with you today. Gentlemen, I want to start off right away. A lot of hot topics, a lot of things that have been out there in the past week or two. One of the at the forefront is as some have been calling him lately, Tank Commander, which I think is a little bit rough. But anyways, Jeff Petry. Obviously, there's something up there. There's something rotten in Denmark with Jeff Petry. He clearly wants out. Management came out and said they're not going to just get rid of him for the sake of getting rid of him. It has to make sense. My question to you is, starting with you, Vito, who would you think is the best trade partner to get it done? And do you think it's better to do it during the season or in the off season?
Ooh, best partner. Okay, I'll answer the second part of the question. I think this is more of an off-season move. I don't think they're going to get what they need to get right now because of cap flexibility and all that during during this trade deadline period. This is something that you want to hold out, be as patient as possible to maximize the value. As some mentioned, Frank Saravalli mentioned it, and I think even Elliot Friedman might have said it too, where there are GMs out there that still keep Petry in a high regard and still believe that he is the Petry that we saw last year and in previous years. So his value is pretty much going to be the same. They know that this is an off year. Players are allowed to have an off year. You know the circumstances with his family and all that stuff. Dad's partner, who would be a good team? Ooh, that needs a right. Nashville comes to mind for me. Okay. I would say Nashville's looking for an RD. They would like a right-handed defenseman. They haven't really replaced PK Subban after he left, or Shea Weber, even for that matter, on the right side. They do have Dante Fabro that's there and whatnot. But I would say Jeff Petry would be a good fit for Nashville.
A little trailer question, just because you seem to find Nashville as the place. Is there any way that it gets done without retaining salary on him?
Not okay. If they're really pressing to make a deal by trade deadline, Montreal's gonna have to retain salary. If they get to the off season, there's a chance that there are some teams that will have the flexibility to take on Jeff Petry without retaining salary. Will it make it more enticing and add probably a bit more value to a Jeff Petry trade if Montreal retains salary? Probably, because it'll still make it easier for other teams, right? Yeah. But I think that if it's the off season, you might actually get a team that won't. Montreal won't have to retain salary on. When you look at Jeff Petry and you're looking at $6.25 million for a right-handed defenseman who, albeit this is a bad season, still gets you 40+ points and is a good leader when he wants to be there, it's not expensive.
Okay, so you're Nashville, you're off season. Dave?
I think we finally found out why Jeff Petry sucks this year. It's basically, he has family issues going at home. That could affect anybody. I think that's something that, everyone could relate to. And it makes more sense, how a player of that caliber just drops off the map. He's going to get dealt to the States, and I think they're going to do it this year. I think there's no point in trading him in the offseason. I mean, there's obviously a point to trading him in the offseason, but he wants to go now. So, I think to accommodate him, just to get, things going, I think they're going to move him. That's the feeling I get. I think that there are teams now that are kind of hungry for him. I'll go off the board. Maybe the Panthers could be a cool fit.
Maybe.
I know people say the Red Wings.
Red Wings, connection.
From the area, and Nashville's a good one too. I've heard that, and it's Vito made some good points there. But I mean, Florida has some interesting, pieces, and I think. I think they're second, obviously they have Ekblad there, but then it's Gudis right after that. So I think that if you could get Jeff Petry there and get, maybe a first round pick, I don't know what it gets you, but they have some interesting pieces. And I think they're just desperate enough to maybe want to go for a guy like Jeff Petry.
Something to note with Florida is that they don't have a first round pick for this coming draft.
Right.
Which is even better.
You could go in the future.
They got a 2023 draft, but they do have prospects like Owen Tippett and so on.
For sure, they have that.
I just don't know how they make the cap fit, though. That's the only thing. We'd have to take back salary. That's for sure.
I'd retain salary if I'm the Canadiens, and you want to maximize your deal, right? Especially if you're trading him in season. obviously everybody knows that you have a bad, you've been dealt a bad hand and they're going to come lowball you. But, I think that the ace in the hole really is the retention of the salary. And I think that that's what you do. If you're the Canadiens, you want to show good faith to your players. You want to show, like, Jeff Petry doesn't want to be here. He has a family issue. People around the league can see that. Trade him right now. His value is not going to, trust me, his value is not going to go up in the off season. The Habs are still going to be handcuffed then. So might as well get a team that's a little bit desperate to want to add at the trade deadline and go from there.
Right on. It also brings to mind the question that if Bergevin was still around, we know how attached he is to his guys. We know, like, with him, there might have been the sense of, maybe he takes a hit to accommodate the trade because he's that kind of guy. But Kent Hughes and Jeff Gordon, they don't have that kind of, they just got here. Not to say they're bad guys and they don't care about somebody, but I really think it was a very smart thing for Hughes to say, saying it has to make sense for the team and it has to make sense for Jeff. We're very open and listening, but we're not getting fleeced. Jeff Petry is a professional. He'll continue to play here. He'll rebound. We'll sort something out, but he will be a Hab as long as his contract is if we don't get the right deal. And I think that's a really comforting thing to hear. With Bergevin, I can easily see him moving him for low returns just to make the player happy. Again, it's from a business perspective, I don't think it's the best thing. There's obviously a personal element to it. I wish Jeff Petry the best. Obviously, I don't want him to be suffering with family issues, but alas, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Speaking of players and particular situations that they find themselves in, Carey Price recently broke his media silence. Had a pretty, I don't know, I wouldn't say like stellar presser. It was very Carey Price-esque. He's very stoic. He's very, soft-spoken and gives very straight but short answers. The one thing that I caught that I want to have your guys' take on is he specifically said he has no plans of being anywhere else. Are you buying that? Considering that he allowed himself to be made available for the Seattle draft expansion, is that something that you look at and take at face value and say, yep, Carey Price wants to be a Canadian. He signed that long-term contract. As he said, he has no plans of being anywhere else. Or do you think that given the right opportunity, Carey Price moves that trade clause and he goes? Dave.
I think he had to say that, right? I mean, what are you going to say? You shove a camera, you put a guy in a press conference and for this team that's just having a terrible season and you just had a cup run. I mean, like, it would have been chaos had he said, oh yeah, I'm open to going anywhere else. Sign me up.
Sometimes they give these weird answers. I don't know. Like, you never know. But no, he said it. He has no plans.
Yeah. Look, I don't think, we should be reading too much into it is what my answer will be. I think that he's a guy he's a smart guy. Obviously, he likes it here in Montreal. He has his home here. He has his home in Brossard. He's happy here. His kids are here. His wife is here. But at the end of the day, he did make himself available for Seattle. He does realize that perhaps, it might be time to go elsewhere, and especially where the organization is going. Now, he can't say that, man. He can't say that. If he said that, man, it would have been a disaster for everybody involved. And he's too smart for that. He's too, he's a very mellow guy, and he doesn't really want that attention anyway. So he said what he said, and I think that absolutely, if you could find a trade partner and present it to him, and it's a team that not on his no trade movement, or not a place that he doesn't want to go to, I think he jumps on it and takes the opportunity to leave.
I think there's a handful of teams, maybe even a little bit less than that he'd be willing to lift his no movement clause to go to. And when he looks at those teams, there's no real fit there. Seattle being one of them, Washington being the other, and Vancouver being the other team. Those are all three teams that are very close to his home, or whether it's Vancouver or whether it's his wife's family, whatnot. So I don't think he'd lift his no movement clause for any team. So might as well stay with the organization that you've been a part of, and that at the end of the day you're still a living legend for. Stay with that team. So I think he means it. But if you told him and came out of nowhere and said, hey, we got a trade offer that would make the Montreal Canadiens better, and Washington wants you, or Seattle wants you, or Vancouver wants you, would you be willing to go? He may consider it. That's what I think about when it comes to Carey Price. He doesn't mind being here, just like he didn't mind putting himself out there for the Seattle. It's like, I'm willing to go to Seattle. I don't think it's going to happen, but hey, expose me because one, my contract is huge. Two, we have my knee surgery, which was right. He hasn't played a game yet, so it's unlikely they're going to take me. But if the off chance that they do take me, at least I'm going to be close to home on both fronts for my wife and for my side. So that's why he was willing to go, in my opinion. And yeah, like Dave said, he's not going to come out saying, "Yeah, I want out," because he doesn't want out. But depending who, he wouldn't mind going. But at the same time, he wouldn't mind staying with Montreal
I
because it's
mean,
been his identity. It's been his team. I mean,
yeah.
my brother today sent me a picture of it was a Carey Price desktop wallpaper during the Centennial that I totally forgot about. It was like, man, he's been with the Montreal Canadiens for a very long time. So it's like he is a Montreal Canadian. And at the end of the day, I think Kent Hughes and Jeff Gordon probably have carte blanche with the Montreal Canadiens. They could do whatever they want, but I think Jeff Molson wants Carey Price to stay.
Well, Carey Price kind of holds his own future, right? It's part of that no trade clause. I mean,
Yeah, but
frankly, even if they want
you need
to,
a
if
dance
he says
partner
no, well, even if there was a dance partner, I mean, he does hold his future in his own hands. He can stay here until he retires. It's entirely up to him. I just find it fascinating that he's done basically everything he can do for the organization. He's got the records already, minus the cup. If this is a rebuild and it's going to take 3-4 years, I mean, he might squeeze a window of 1, maybe 2 years once the team is kind of rolling to try to go for it. So if he's prepared to do that, it's one thing. But then I look at it from another perspective and say, okay, well, his buddy Shea Weber is not coming back. Jeff Petry, I also know he was close with. Looks like he's going to be gone. His
Matt, it's not
friends,
going to
if
be
you
a
will.
rebuild. It's not going to be a rebuild.
Well,
As long
we
as
don't
you
know.
have, as long as
We
you
don't
have
know.
Carey Price and you keep certain pieces like Toffoli, Josh Anderson, and whatnot, and you have
I,
Nick Suzuki's, you're talking about a, a retool, just not a Marc Bergevin version of a
Well,
retool.
you're banking on a lot on like the doctors basically making him 100%. I mean, he might come back and simply just not be the guy he
He might
was.
not be, but I mean, I saw him skating today, and right, it's not game action, but he didn't look like he was somebody.
I mean, it's hard to tell. You take
It's
an
hard to
angle
tell,
all
but
the way
at the
up
end of
from
the,
wherever.
at the end of the day, I think his press conference, he managed expectations for people to say, "Hey, I may come back the same guy, or I may not." Now, we know typically knee injuries for big guys like him don't go very well, but on the off chance that it does, at the end of the day, he's always got his IQ. He's always a smart guy. He's a goalie. Will he be a 930 save percentage goalie? No, but he hasn't been, except for the playoffs, for a couple of years now. Can he go back to being his career average and be a 91.7? Maybe. So at the same time, yeah, I get people trying to say get the cap off the books, uh, move on from Carey Price because you need to. But at the same time, if you don't have anybody in your pipeline to replace, and you're gonna go retain salary to hold on to him or to move him. Let's say you retain half of his salary only to go get another goalie at $3, $4, $5 million. Yeah, it's still $10 million in goaltending. Might as well keep the guy you have that you know if you do get into the playoffs. Hey, now tell me his career is over. If he comes out like Ben Bishop saying I can't do it, guys, it's a different story. But in this case, we'll see.
Okay. I know Carey Price holds a special place in your heart. I know
He
you get a
does.
little
He
worked
does.
up when I talk about him. I
He
was
does.
prepared for this, but okay.
He
Very
does.
good.
I'm gonna
Okay.
get bashed by a couple of friends who are Carey Price haters, but it's okay. I'm expecting
That's fine. No problem. I appreciate it. I do, however, have a question, maybe with two gentlemen that perhaps you're fond of, but not as fond of, and it makes me wonder if you need to add a sweetener to a deal, if you want to offload perhaps a Price or perhaps a Gallagher or a Petry with these big price tags and not to retain salary, they're saying you gotta add a prospect, you gotta add a top grade prospect, and we'll make it work. Who is more as an untouchable for you? Who's more irreplaceable in the team going forward? Cole Caufield or Romanov? Dave, because Vito just spoke for an hour.
That's easy for me. That's
Who is
easy
it?
for me. I think Alexander Romanov is the untouchable one. I think that he's proven he could be an NHL defenseman. He's proven he has potential. He's proven everything. Plays the right way. He's exciting. He hits. He can move the puck. I think Romanov is an asset that you keep absolutely going forward. Cole Caufield, I was never really sold on him. I think
That's future 40 goal scorer Cole Caufield. I'll have you know.
Future. I mean, yeah, exactly. To me, it was no secret that he looked good. But I kind of always had a little bit of doubt with him, and I think it's been proven right this season. Is there potential there to have 40 goals? Sure, fine, maybe, but that it's
Are
more of
you
a
ready
long
to give
shot at
up
this
on him?
point.
Are you
I'm not
prepared to
giving
give up
up
on
on
him?
him per se. Look, he's a first round pick. He's entertaining. You could see him. You could see he has the skill. You could also see he gets in his own head. You could also see that when he faces top notch NHL competition, he doesn't have it yet. He's young for sure. There's a lot of things that the factors that could be at play here. I'm not giving up on him for sure. But if you're asking me who am I going to give up on right as of right now, first, either him or Romanov, I'm not giving up Romanov. I like Romanov. I think that he fits the bill for the Habs. I think that he's going to be a great defenseman in the NHL. Whereas, Cole Caufield, I'm not sure what he is yet, but I still, he's a very, very, very short guy. And I don't say this as if like I know there's other players but like you can tell it's wearing on him. Like I don't know, I don't know how else to say it.
Listen, I hear you. He's young. He's still got he's growing into the man body still kind of analogy that people say. He is small. There's a max in terms of size that he can possibly get to. 100%. 100%. He's not going to be an Alex Romanov. He's not going to be an Alex Ovechkin type guy from that same position scoring goals. He's going to have to figure out other ways to do it without question. So you're a Romanov guy.
Yeah, for sure.
If we're talking right now,
We are.
okay,
Right
so
now.
then because
The three of us, we're right here.
Montreal cannot afford to lose any more defensemen, let alone a young one like Romanov, I'm gonna have to go with Romanov. But that doesn't mean I give up on Cole Caufield. I do think that Cole Caufield has the potential to be a very good goal scorer. I mean, I'm not gonna put him at Alex Ovechkin levels. That's just fucking ridiculous. But to say that like he can be a 25, 30 goal scorer, I'll tame the expectations a little bit instead of saying 40. Yeah, I do think so. I just think that there are enough left wingers or enough right wingers in general that you can acquire to make up some of the goal scoring. And right now, Montreal, albeit a depleted roster as it is, they have a couple on a normal season, they have a couple of 25 plus to 30 goal scorers. What they don't have is a Romanov. And if you get rid of Romanov, Montreal on the back end is going to be in trouble. They can't find a suitable replacement for a Shea Weber. And if they get rid of if they trade away Petry and you're not bringing in another defenseman on the right side back, and you also get away get rid of Romanov, who the hell's left? I mean, there's only so much Chris Weidman I can handle.
So what if I change the question a bit? Maybe this completely turns it the other way, but instead of Romanov, what if I throw Gouli instead? You still feel the same way?
You still feel the same way.
Montreal's future strength, if you want to say, based on right now their assets and the prospects, their strength is on defense. And that's because there's somebody like Gouli in the pipeline. That's because you have potentially Harris if he signs. That's also because you have Strubles and so on. If you start trading away those, and the fact that there's not that much in terms of offense, then what does Montreal have in the cupboard left?
No, very true. Listen, I feel like someone wound you up today. You're going on. You're spitting me. I don't know. You were excited.
Caffeine, my friends.
You were excited for this one. All right, baby. Okay.
On coffee.
All right, let's go. Let's go. My next question for you comes to again an individual who you both are incredibly fond of, Dom Ducharme. Some are saying with the tank in progress that even with that being said, Dom doesn't finish the season. Others are saying he shouldn't finish the season, but he might. What do you think? Should he finish it, or should he be relieved ASAP because every second he's behind the bench, more damage is getting done? Or do you keep him there because with him there, you're basically assured Habs finish in the bottom like 2?
Go, Dave.
I'd keep him there. I'm not a big Dom Ducharme guy, but I don't believe in the concept of like, this coach scarred a player. The only way you do that is when you rush players at a young age and put them into awkward situations, which I think Dom Ducharme was doing the absolute opposite of that. So if anything, I think that it's fine. Leave him there. He's not coaching up a storm. He's fine. He's doing okay. He's perfectly in line with what you want to do. You want to tank that season, then he's the guy for it. He'll have gotten his opportunity. He won't be shortchanged, and there's no point in bringing another coach in, because if you go and you get another coach, all right, and odds are they're going to get an inexperienced coach, because you're not going to go recycle Alain Vigneault. You're not going to go recycle Claude Julien or Michel Therrien. Okay, so you're going to get an inexperienced French Canadian coach. We can all
Pascal
probably agree on
Vincent.
that. There you go. That's you're kind of going into my pick. I've spoke about it before. He's my pick for the next coach of the Montreal Canadiens
About
would be
it?
Pascal
Okay.
Vincent. If you bring him in with this roster, if you bring him in with this team, and they continue to lose, well, then the luster's gone on him by this time next season. Are you that excited to going into next season with a coach who also went freaking with 8 wins in half a season? No. So what's the point of changing your coach right now?
So
I
I
don't
guess
believe in
really,
losing culture. I don't.
okay. So and that's more my question, right? So you don't believe that having Dom stay here to the end of the year is going to do any like further damage or harm the younger players or anything with their development?
I believe in losing culture when you keep the coach and you keep the manager, and it's the same old, same old. If you change that coach, the culture is completely new. It's a new guy comes in, and sure, you might have a guy who's down in the dumps, who's doubting himself, but that's on the new coach to build up again and work at it. These guys are professionals, man. It's not a guy in your room in Bantam Double B who, you know what I mean? These guys are professional adults. Okay. So I don't believe in a culture, lasting that long. And he played 47 games under Dom Ducharme, and now he's gone. His career's over. Like, I don't believe in that. And Dom Ducharme is not, as much as we hate him and we despise him. Look at what he's been dealt with, the hand he's been dealt with. Okay,
True.
so
True.
I mean, as much as we say he's a terrible coach, he's not. We don't know yet how terrible he is. So I think he gets to say. I think he gets to stay to the end of the year, and I don't think there's any positive in removing him whatsoever.
Fair say.
If Jeff Gordon and Kent Hughes had a coach in mind and that coach is available today, they would have already replaced Ducharme. I think they're going to keep him till the end of the year. There's no point. But a part of me does think that keeping him at the same time does hurt the development of certain young kids who are not keen on his style, or he's not using them to their strengths and whatnot. So that in that regard, it
But
might hurt them.
but it's not
But
5 years, right? Like Cole Caufield's not spending 5 years doing nothing on the fourth line. He's spending 40 something games, 50 games, 60 games, 41 games left. Okay, he's going to play those 41 games, and then he's going to get a shot in the arm when the new coach comes in. Like, if he's already, if there's damage done to him because of that, well, then he probably was never going to make it in the NHL in
but
the
it's
first
still a
place.
40-game setback. When you think of it, it's still half a season that you set a player's development back. I get what you're saying, but if imagine a half a season of this garbage and not being utilized properly and hurting your confidence and hurting your value and not using you to your strength. Like, a goal scorer needs to score goals, and if you're not putting him in a position to be able to score goals, then you're not. What are you there for? So then you start to question your purpose as a hockey player, question your purpose as a person. Where's your role fit? Who are you? And that's how much damage a coach can do to a young kid. To a veteran, it's different. A veteran who's been playing 15 years, 10 years, he's going to say, I know what I'm capable of doing. I know what I have done. My legs still work. My brain still works. I can do this. Now, we're not talking about 38, 39-year-old players. We're talking about young kids where they are fragile at the beginning, and especially in the world that we live in today, it doesn't take much to get into a player's head, especially a young kid. So that's where I look and say, okay, somebody like Dom Ducharme could mess things up and could fuck things up for younger kids. Now you're also seeing certain veterans that are not really gravitating to his play style or not really going for liking it. Petry has even said, in previous interviews that you don't really know where to place yourself in a sense, and I'm paraphrasing because I don't remember exactly what he said, but and it's like disorganized. That's his coaching system, and his coaching system, we've said it is, what the fuck is it? So would I keep Dom Ducharme to the rest of the season? On one side, you look at it as globally in the big picture and probably be like, yeah, just keep him. You're already paying him. How much more money is Jeff Molson going to lose on coaches and administration and so on? But on the flip side, if you're really focused on the development of players and they all, Kent Hughes interviewed all the players apparently. And if they're all coming out saying, yeah, we don't know what the hell Dom Ducharme's still doing, nice guy, but coaching, and people outside in the media are also saying coaching, then they got to do something about it.
Even if that means just like getting rid of him with no coach, like having an interim like Luke Richardson taking over or whatever, like just to do that.
They're probably better off. Like if you're gonna go that way and say, okay, we don't have the head coach we want because maybe we don't have the team's permission. Maybe he's currently on another roster as an assistant coach, or whatever the case may be. Then yeah, you're probably better off if he's actually causing a certain level of toxicity within the room. Let Luke Richardson do the rest of the season.
Okay.
But it all depends. We're not in the room, so we don't really know.
Well, that's why I asked for your
We're
opinion.
on the surface.
And not for the facts.
And by the way,
your point.
Pascal Vincent is your guy. There is one guy that his name has been circulating around, and people feel that he might have changed his ways a little bit and is a bit
Bob
more...
Hartley.
No, Guy Boucher. What do you guys think?
No, thank you.
Okay, I don't think so.
That's all.
Guy Boucher, okay, is the coach who comes in and he gets everyone to play well, and they play well for 45 games, and then everybody gets tired of Guy Boucher's shit, and then that's it.
Okay, so Claude Julien. Okay.
And Guy Boucher, yeah, and like enough again. To me, the retreads of old coaches.
Dave wants all new management, new everything. Coach never coached before. He wants a fresh new everything.
The other thing you got to consider too, right?
I don't blame him.
A head coach comes in. The other thing too, you got to consider. A new head coach comes in. What do you do about Burrows and Richardson, who are also re-signed to 3-year contracts?
I would keep them. I mean, it depends. It depends on what the coach will want to do,
yeah,
right?
I guess the head coach chooses.
But imagine they say the head coach comes in and says, "No, I want my own guys." How many more coaches, whether they're assistants, associates, whatever, general managers, is Jeff Molson? Jeff Molson's got so much money.
That's the point. There's no salary cap. We talk about it all the time. Salary cap is handcuffing everybody. Well, there's no salary cap in coaches. So just get the best at all times to make your team work, and just pay the bills for whoever. Pay these guys. Oh well, it's a loss for you. Suck it up and
but just think of it for a second. Just think of it for a second. You had Michel Therrien at a point, which by the way his contract is off the books, but at a point that's $3.5 million for about a year or two, where he wasn't doing anything. Fast forward, you got Claude Julien at $5 million a year. His coaches for 2 or 3 years. 2 years, nothing. Marc Bergevin had the rest of this year getting paid nothing. Then after, if you get rid of Ducharme, Burrows, and Richardson, nothing.
Is it your money?
No, it's not. You got to think of it from that perspective.
No, you got to think of it as a business owner. And as a business owner, Jeff Molson, if he's worried about pinching the salaries of the coaches, which, let's be real, are not exuberant, right? No one's making $5 million on this roster. You know, I think Dom Ducharme is $1.5 million a year.
1.7, I believe.
Or 1.7, whatever. Like, if that's going to stop you from making moves, then Jeff Molson's in trouble, man. Like, financial trouble.
I'm not even insinuating
it's
that.
I'm just saying it's crazy. Yeah, it sucks for everybody.
For a middle class person to look at that, that's some crazy money being thrown.
Listen, it is what it is.
Right.
I do, however, have one final question for you guys. Something just, I decided to make up off the top of my head. Keeping it under the age of, let's say, 24. We're looking at young guys. Don't give me no McDavids. Don't give me no Crosbys and Ovechkins. Not that. That's not what I'm looking at. I want the young guys, the young superstar, okay? Keep that in your head. If you had the capability to just pluck one from another team and place them on the Montreal Canadiens for a guaranteed 8-year contract, forget money, forget this. That doesn't matter. You just managed. It just happened. It happened. It could be from any team. Who is the one young superstar, whatever you want to call them, that you would love to have on this team for the next 8 years?
I got mine already. Well, first off, does Austin Matthews qualify? I think he just turned 24. Does he qualify?
Let's say no.
And under, or
let's say no. It's not, under 24. Let's say no.
Would be Makar in Colorado. Cale Makar is a stud, man. He's exactly what you need in today's NHL. He's perfect, man. I'd love that player on any team.
Modern day Paul Coffey, modern day Bobby Orr. What would you call him? Modern day what?
Wow, forget modern day, and they forget the comparisons to old players.
He's a special player.
He's Cale Makar. He's the modern day Cale Makar. That's who he is.
He's a special player, no doubt.
That would be my
who do you got?
I'm just.
It's a tough question because, like,
It could be
I'm just
anybody.
saying-
There's
It
so
could be- it
many
could be
that are
anybody.
up and coming now, and you're looking and you're seeing so many new kids and new faces blossoming. It's like, I mean, off the top of my head, I would have said Cale Makar. Unfortunately, you asked for Dave's to answer first, but damn
You
it,
can say Cale Makar too if you want. You just be
no,
unoriginal.
no. I like Adam Fox. I would probably go just because you could see the skill level, and he's changing hockey before our eyes, and it's Trevor Zegras. He's doing things that offend a goalie. He's doing things that are rubbing old coaches the wrong way.
Well,
You know what I
certain old
mean?
coaches.
Torts, right?
Yeah.
He's doing. Before, you wouldn't see. It would be rare you see a player pulling off the Michigan. This guy's done like 2 or 3 times already this year. This
Yeah, no,
year.
he's an exciting kid. That's a good pick. I think that's a good pick too.
So I'm gonna say Trevor Zegras. I mean, there's so many I could think of. Adam Fox is one.
Yeah.
You'd want. I mean, the guy's again a Norris candidate again.
Andrei Sveshnikov, I think, would be another.
Svechnikov.
Svechnikov is a good one.
I mean,
I'll tell you mine.
Did you see Anton Lundell from yesterday? I mean,
yeah, I'll tell you mine. I just looked him up, and I kind of boned myself on the question because he is apparently 24. I didn't think he was, but he is. So I'm disqualified, but I'm going to say it anyways. I would take Kirill the Thrill Kaprizov.
Oh, yeah.
That's who I would take.
Yeah, I don't know how I didn't think of him.
That's who I would take.
He came in so late to the NHL.
Against the rules.
Well, it's against the rules.
Sorry, Matt.
I'm sorry. Listen, my question. I can do what I want. I can do what I want. I'm taking Kirill. This kid, Minnesota, is so lucky to have a talent like that to be around for as long as he's going to be around. Just watching him play, they can lose 4-1. But every time this kid's on the ice, it's worth the price of admission. And I don't recall the last time we had a forward, because watching Price do what he does has always been fun, but you want offense. I feel like most fans want to see fanciness happening in the O-zone more than a great save. And I don't remember. I mean, PK was kind of flashy for a bit. It was fun to watch him out there. Again, defenseman, not quite the same thing.
He would do 64 pirouettes.
Well, he does his pirouettes, but he was somewhat. He just had an energy about him. There was an exciting element when he was on the ice, and I just don't. Aside from him, I can't think. I mean, like
you mean from Montreal?
Yeah, you got to go back.
The last
go
player that was exciting,
that
was exciting for Montreal was Kovalev, and you could even give it to PK. He did get fans off their seats.
No, for sure,
at times,
for sure. But it's just unfortunate. Like Kovalev was a Hab for how long? 3 years?
4
years. I mean, yeah, 4 years is nice, but I mean, it'd be nice to be able to finally draft somebody who's going to be around. You sign long term, and it's like Suzuki is going to be a stud. I believe it. Whether he's a bona fide 1C, I still don't know, but he'll be a stud. But he's not. He's not like a Svechnikov or a Kaprizov or any of these guys.
I do believe that if Montreal wins the lottery draft this year and they draft Shane Wright will be a point-a-game player and will be exciting enough. Will he be at Trevor Zegras level skill that he could do something Deacon entire? I don't think so, but he'll be an exciting piece. Probably one of the more exciting pieces that Montreal has drafted in a very long time.
Yeah, exciting though. I don't know, man. Like Patrice Bergeron, for example. Okay, like is he's not that he's an amazing player. Don't get me wrong, and he's phenomenal, and he's like so clutch. And you need a player like that to win the Stanley Cup. But is he like exhilarating to watch play hockey? I don't know, and that's what.
But there's a handful. There's not that many players.
But I think that's what Matt was saying. Right?
Exactly. I think Dave got the essence of the question a little bit more. It's like someone that you can take that excite. Like your Zegras answer was solid, right? He does fancy shit. Cale Makar does amazing moves. These are exciting and top level players. Kirill Kaprizov does exciting stuff. There's nothing wrong with if you would have taken, one of the more low key guys like an Adam Fox. He's not going to get your blood pumping. But this guy's going to win a Norris. He's a fantastic defenseman. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just different strokes. I'm not saying that guys like that are not fun to get. I was just like, it's been a while since, you got a guy. And like, that's why I saw Kaprizov do a highlight thing. And that's where the question came from. Like, just to see it happen is such a joy to watch as a hockey fan.
We
It's been so long.
we haven't had a player that gave us a wow moment in a while. The only person who I could say who was giving it to us on a consistent basis was a big save, and it was Carey Price, where you're like, oh shit,
Oh yeah, no
Jesus
doubt,
Christ,
no
look
doubt.
what he did, or
But
the
totally,
Superman theme song plays after he makes a
Yeah.
big save. Like it's
Yeah.
just we haven't seen that, and you're right. Montreal has been deprived of that for a very long time, and given where hockey is going, and given the next generation of fans that want to see that level of skill, that's where Montreal needs to go to get a certain level of viewership, to get certain fans engaged, and to think of the future.
well, I agree.
Well said.
I agree. Well said. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. You answered the questions admirably and relatively decently for the most part.
I'll
So
take it.
I
Put it on my
appreciate that.
CV.
Yeah, I appreciate that. For everyone else, we thank you again, as always, for listening. It really makes us happy to know that many people now, by the looks of it, are enjoying the content. So we're very happy for that. And we're going to keep the ball rolling and keep it going for a couple more for sure. Definitely check us out on social media. You'll see the upcoming episodes as they come out, and you'll get some sort of updates as that happens. And as always, Vito, Dave, myself, Matt, we thank you. And this was Get Pucked.
Peace.
Get Pucked.